believe the pole is to be a 1969, 68, 69 rod. And the reel is a 1971. The line's probably 1989, 1990. Scientific angler. Got a 6-foot leader, 3 feet of 2-pound tippet, and a green popper. It is a vintage hexagon split bamboo. There's no markings on it, but it's about a 4 or 5 weight. Gold tears here. One with a hare's ear, epoxy back, faster sinker. It's an old click and prawl reel. No drag. The drag is in the flex of the rod and the control of the line through your own fingers. I remember as a kid fishing here one time. We were standing out on this little curb. Me and Wayne, my friend Doug. I think Wayne was down around the corner. Doug and I were right here. And we heard some pre-Fast and the Ferocious. This is way back before the Fast and the Ferocious came out. Coming around this corner. And we're thinking, oh, that guy, he's hauling ass. Well, he went around the block. I guess he came back again. And we heard the brakes lock up. Like this car right here. And he shot right through this fence and into that tree. He got out and ran. We were right here, ringside. We were on that curb. Missed us by that much. Good times. That was before they redid the lake. Back when they had the lily pads and everything. This place just a rule. We used to sneak in here at night. There was a dock out there. We'd take off out of that dock with a boat, and we'd come across and anchor up against the backside of these reeds so the cops couldn't see us. We'd fish there all night. Because the cops come by here, used to come by here at night, shining spotlights. These are ritzy titsy houses around here. At the southwest corner of this lake, there's a rodeo going on right now. I switched over to a gold-ribbed flashback with legs and a tail. First bluegill I ever caught on a fly rod, though not those reeds, but in the same area, same lake. It was right along here on a red wet fly. An old 9-foot 5-weight green Garcia rod, 2-piece from Jeffco, and this same reel. Bringing it back. Not the same line though. If I remember right, I had a line called Airflow. I don't even know if they make that stuff anymore, but it was new. And Field and Stream was pushing it at the time, so I ended up getting that. Weight forward, floating, 5-weight. It was a green line. From this reel, I went to a Garcia automatic. I fished that automatic for a couple years. Those are quite heavy. They're cool though. You can get them on eBay for under 20 bucks. A good one, brand new, almost still in the box, mint condition, you can get for about 50. 50-year-old reel, 50 bucks. People buy them in estate sales. They don't know what they have. And then I discovered Bob Marriott's out on Orangethorpe. Life-changing. Used to ride my bike down there as a kid and drool over the rods and reels. Couldn't afford one until I got a job. You can go in that place and spend $5 grand for a rod. An Orvis split bamboo. Or drop $2 grand on a Sage or a Winston. But I like the vintage stuff. Ooh, good cast. Before they redid this lake, there used to be a pump house down over there. Wherever that last bench is, and a tree that went out at about a 45-degree angle. That tree was a Christmas tree full of ornaments. People casting under it because it was a great place to fish. My friend threw a night crawler under there one time, and his line just took off. 4-pound line. We got it in right here. I jumped in and took my shirt off and used it like a net, and it was a 5.5-pound pacu. We had no idea what it is. We went to the Daily Star Progress and we showed them, and they said they thought it was a piranha, and they notified the city, and the city shut this lake down for 2 days until they had that fish checked out at La Harbor Tropical Fish, and they said, no, it's a pacu. He said, if you would have brought that thing in here alive, I would have given you $100. And that was way back in 81, 79, 80 or 81. So $100 was a lot of money. I could have bought an entire BMX bike. And then my friend Doug caught another pacu, even bigger, right off this bank over here. Nightcrawler also. But right here, one time I was fishing with a friend of mine's dad. No, a friend of mine, my mom was here, and she was fishing. We were kids. We were like 8, 9 years old. My mom was fishing, and my friend's mom was fishing, and a bunch of kids, and there were some lily pads right there, and I caught a 21-inch catfish right here. We took that thing home and kept it alive in the bathtub all day until my friend's dad came home to show us how to clean it. Cooked it up for us. Pure deliciousness. And now that guy died 2 days ago. Well, today's Saturday. He died yesterday morning. Good Friday morning, 5:15 in the morning, he passed away. Age 88. I went and saw him in the hospital the day before. It was rough. We used to come in here though just before, when I was a senior, we'd come in here just before the lake closes at sundown, and I'd have a 5-gallon bucket with a trot line that you used to be able to buy, and I think you can still buy it. It's a 150-foot trot line with 75 areas where they put swivel, and a dropper. So, I mean a clinch, 2 stoppers, and a dropper with a swivel. So you can hook up 25 lines every 3 feet. And I'd cast a 2-ounce weight from right here, where that lady is, across over there. Mind you, there were lily pads everywhere. My girlfriend would get that thing and she'd secure it, and then she'd run around and I'd run around. She'd take the line. I'd go over the bucket and I'd put nightcrawler, crawdad, cricket, anchovy, just all different baits, alternate the baits, and we'd stretch that thing all the way across and tack it in under the water. And we'd come back in the morning just before they opened up, jump the fence, and she'd go to one side and release that side, and I'd hold on to this side. You could feel they were on there. I'd say, okay, let go, because they'd go straight into the lily pads, and I'd pull those in. We'd pull out catfish almost 2 feet long. We kept 1 or 2 here and there, but we just wanted to see what was in here. I grew up at this lake, and I stalked this lake from other lakes. We'd catch lakes up at Tri-City Lake, which is, good 6, 7, 8 miles east of here, northeast. And we'd bring them in buckets on our bicycles, and we'd ride all the way down here and stalk. Used to be a dock here with a tunnel that went underneath. And everybody used to fish underneath it. Oh, swirl, something took off right here. I found some worms. I'll take them home. But there's this guy named Todd. He was older than us, but he had a bad stuttering problem. I don't know if he had a mom and dad. I don't know. Nobody knew anything about him, but they called him Stutter Man. And when the lake went real low, none of the cement was here. It was just dirt. And he was sticking his hand back in that hole. And out of one hole, he pulled 21 crawdads. That's a world record in my eyes. I've never seen that done before. I've seen 2 or 3, but never 21. And when the crappie were boiling, when the crappie used to boil, there'd be like, 30, 40 regulars that knew what time of day the crappie boil and where, and then just be elbow to elbow, just everybody casting. At the time, it was micro jigs. Mini jigs had just come out. Micro jigs. The only place you can get them now, and very rarely, is Santa Fe Springs, out on Oranday Road, Save on Tackle, and that's rare. Or you can get them on a pretty much regularly from Turner's out on Willow Street in Long Beach. It's one guy. He's never opened the company up to mass production. It's one guy that makes them by himself. They used to be $2.25 each. We used to ride our bikes all the way down there just to buy one because they work so good. But before that, there's a place called Bait and Tackle in back of where there's a Winchell's now on Harbor Boulevard and Stearns in La Habra. There used to be a little Kodak photo booth right in the middle, and behind that there's a Bait and Tackle. And that guy used to, he knew the guy, so he'd get them all the time. But we'd throw those jigs in there and we'd just crappie, just huge crappie. It was so much fun. We'd throw them back, most of them, keep a few here and there. But he went out there in a raft that he bought at Kmart. There used to be a Kmart down here, down the street, down Harbor. And he's out there in the raft. People are casting at him. And he's batting them away with the oar. And then he's catching a bunch of them and he's putting them in the boat. And Crappie got those big old spines on the top, dorsal fin. So they popped his boat and he's out there sinking. But Stutter Man, last I saw or heard from him, he was working on a boat down at the Dory in Long Beach and Newport Beach. He got a job on a fishing boat. And then I don't think it worked out for him. I don't know what happened to him, but he disappeared around the time that the Newport Pier Birdman died. Actually, a few years before he died. The Birdman. He used to have those parrots he'd bring down to the pier so that people could take pictures with them. That's how he made his money. And then when he was in the hospital, nobody knew what happened to him when he was in the hospital. Somebody in the hospital recognized him. Word got out. One guy went to visit him, did a little interview with him. The interview was, I'm known by thousands as the Birdman, you know, but in my private life, I don't know anybody. It's really a lonely life. And I wish at least one person would, he goes, I know I'm not getting out of this hospital alive. I wish at least one person would come visit me. And he died before anybody did. So, rest in peace, Birdman. How did I get on Birdman from this lake? Oh yeah, Stutterman, crappie, mini jigs, micro jigs, crawdads, dock. It's all circular. You put in your quarter, you get on the carousel, you go for a ride, happy, circular. I'm gonna go down and try by where the old dock used to be. I got a funny story about that one too. Right here, there used to be a bench right here, and this is where Bob got his finger bit off, right here. Piece of his finger. Anyway, that guy would walk with that strut. He goes, look at him, he thinks he's a rock star. He looked like the lead singer from Cheap Trick back in the day. Anyway, that guy had a rich mom and dad. He never worked. He just did drugs. And he lived in the apartments across the street from Radio Shack, which is no longer there, on Harbor Boulevard, just before you got down to Kmart, which is now Best Buy. Back then it was Gemco. No, it was Kmart. Zodi's. It was Zodi's. Gemco was across the street. Anyway, Bob went over there to visit him, and he said, that guy goes, I don't feel good, man. He goes, you're probably too stoned. He goes, no, something's wrong, I don't feel good. He's walking across the floor, and he just dropped. He died right there. I think he was 37 or 38. He died, heart attack. Too much drugs. Too much time on his hands. So then Bob was just never the same after that. He was by himself. He used to hang out with this girl named Lori. This girl named Lori. There's a gate in the fence right here. She lived in that house. Her mom and dad still own that house. Now, she doesn't live there now, but back in the day, that's where she lived. She was an excellent fly fisher woman. But now, she married another woman. That was a halfway house, by the way. But she married another woman, and she lives across the street from my brother. I was at my brother's house one time, and she's moving in. I'm all, hey, catch anything? She's all, what are you doing here? I said, this is my brother's house. She's all, no way. Small world. She's all, I used to see you at Laguna every day. No, I'll see you over here all the time. Small world. There's the gate. She lived in that house there. Down here on the corner, oh, these were all lily pads here too. Crawdad. Down here in the corner, that house there with the camera, see, it's like a bird. Used to have some tiki heads and some tiki torches, and they'd play music like on the tiki room, and they had those torches burning, and they had these little native statues. Really cool in the 70s. This end was always the end to fish towards this time of night. They all migrate down here. In the morning, we'd fish the other side. Just the way it was. But there were reeds here, lily pads here, reeds there, lily pads there, lily pads there, lily pads there, some reeds over there, a big patch of reeds over there. And out there's where Stutterman was in his boat. Todd, good old Todd. Whenever it would mist or rain, he would go down the street by Velvet Turtle, and he would lay cardboard down, and so the worms would get soaked out of the worm beds, out of the flower beds, and they'd come out on the sidewalk. They'd hide under that cardboard just to keep from drowning. He'd get some huge worms. But we used to go to the cornfield and lay a piece of carpet. You get those little carpet remnants, the samples. We'd lay those in the backside of the cornfield down by the railroad tracks on the corner of Paul and Imperial, and put a piece of bread with some sugar and sugar water. We got that from H.G. Tapley, Tap's Tips, out of Field and Stream. And we'd lift up that carpet, and there'd be these big black crickets, and they'd bite. If you'd have them in your hands, they'd bite. But those things were dynamite in here. We bought cricket cages from Netcraft. And Netcraft is still online. You can still order from them. And we got crickets from them, cricket cages. We'd come down here and fish. Sun up to sundown. Every weekend. Take our fishing poles to school. Mr. Johnson, wood shop, another fisherman. He would lock them up behind a cage where he kept his lumber. After school, we get our fishing rods and head over here. Do our homework while we're fishing. One rod out with nightcrawler, one rod out with redworm, the other one using jigs, lures. Try to get the homework done. Ride home from here. A fisherman's life. This is where the crappie spawned. They'd be elbow to elbow from there to about here. Everybody in competition. It was so much fun. But we'd come in the morning, come up to the gate, lift up, the gates would still be locked. Ooh, swirlage. Gates would still be locked. We'd lift our bikes over. One guy climb over. We'd hand our bikes to him. Then we'd all climb over. Some days when it's cold and rainy and foggy, they didn't even open the lake. So we'd get one of these trash cans. Steel trash cans. They didn't have these steel trash cans. They'd have staked down right here. And we'd get wood. We'd have a fire going in it. Like something off of Beretta. 3 guys standing around a fire watching our poles. City didn't even care. They drove by as long as we weren't hurting anybody. Right there's where I caught the biggest crappie in my life. It was about 14 inches. Huge for this lake. Not big for most lakes, but for this lake it's huge. There used to be a stream right there. Man-made stream. They took it out. I lied. One more cast. I saw something swirl. So, I've been fishing cane, quite chain, split bamboo, vintage fishing on a 50-year-old plus rod and on a 50-year-old reel. The line's only about 30 years old. But if you clean something, you maintain it, it's built to last. Not like the junk of today. Vintage fishing, Laguna Lake. One of my favorite places in the world. For reasons few of you will ever understand.